Hello everyone, this is Mike Azanero, the lead designer and developer of Melee Masters, and today is a very special day. Today I released the first demo of Melee Masters. And so the main purpose of this video is just to supplement people who download the demo, and this will just go over some problems you might run into, some general knowledge about it, and that type of thing. And then towards the end I'll touch on some other aspects of just the game and other things in general. So to start things off, you're gonna go to the website. It's playmelemasters.com/demo.html. There'll be a link to it in the video, and that'll download you the zip file. You click the button on the page, and after you download it, you could extract it anywhere and you could run it anywhere. The only important part is there's a folder called Melee Masters Data, which has to be in the same folder as the same runtime directory as the executable. And then for things like controller configuration, where I've talked about, you'll be able to go in and change the way your controller is configured, and those get saved under your app data folder. So that's usually like C, users, whatever your name is, app data, roaming, and then two-piece games. I know it's kind of a long-winded thing, but under there is where all your config files will be saved. And so if you're wondering how to transfer those, you could even change them, but I'd recommend don't change the default one or re-download or just, if you ever run into the problem where you mess up like the default controls, just delete the file and it recreates it. And then replays is another thing. So replays makes its own folder called C, Programs, Melee Masters, and then Replays. So after you complete a game, it should write a replay. If you stop it midway, it won't. So this only goes for games that have been started from the main menu and then completed back to the character select screen. Or started from the character select screen and back. Some other issues you might run into if you're using, I actually have one here, a 4-port adapter. There's a weird thing with Unity where when you plug this in, you can tell if it has a thing that reads how many controllers are connected. So with this, even though I only have one actually connected, since this whole thing is like on, it treats all 4 as connected. So when you launch a free-for-all, the way free-for-all works off the main menu is it'll read the number of connected controllers. And so the problem with this is, even if you have one in, it's going to load up 4 character slots, and then you can't actually get rid of those character slots unless you have a controller to control them. So that's kind of an issue. So if you have two GameCube controllers to plug into your adapter, then go to offline and then dual. Offline and dual, and that'll load up only 2 ports, even though it thinks there's 4. If you have Xbox controllers or PlayStation controllers, those read fine. It's really only GameCube adapters that have this problem. And so it goes over it in the demo itself, but the main way to go through this is main menu, you go to offline, and then you go to dual or free-for-all, depending on how many controllers, how many people you want to have to play. The demo also has some other game modes if you want to mess around with them. It has free train where you can where there's no death or like stocks never deplete, and you can play that against the AI. Or in free-for-all, you're allowed to add or remove AI. So if you want to play free-for-all against like 3 AI, unplug all but one controller, and then you'll click an Add AI button on the left, and then after you select your character, it'll give you control of those selected characters, and then you could just play the match out the way you normally would. But if you just want to like train against an AI that doesn't fight back, you go to free train, and then under AI options, you can put it on idle. You can actually put all the normal bots on idle too in free-for-all, but that's up to you. There's also a mode called adaptive on the bots, where what they'll do is each one has a list of priorities or moves that they think they should do in a certain setting, and based on how well those moves did in about like 1 second, 5 seconds, it'll move them up or down in that priority list. So the idea with that is to give them some sort of adaptability, so it's not like every time I double jump over them, they're gonna, shield, then you go like land, tomahawk, grab them. But it's still not perfect, it's just, a little something to spice things up. And then there's also break the targets, or it's called target test, but it's basically break the targets. The little thing at the bottom that shows your best score doesn't work, but you should be able to run to completion. Just select your character, play it out, and it'll, after you break all the targets, it'll freeze with your time. I'd like to make leaderboards and stuff for that in the future, but this is just, if you want to lab out the character's movement, that's there for you too. So that's really all there is to it. At this point, I want to touch on some other aspects of what you'll see in the demo as far as the game is concerned, and how I think you should receive that. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just saying if there's things you think that are out of place or things done poorly, this is sort of just to help you understand that. So, about the state of the game, when games say they're in an alpha state or beta state, you really need to take that with a grain of salt for who's saying it. So, an EA game releasing a beta is a finished product. They're not making any changes to that game besides single digit changes. And even then, they might not even do that, because as someone who's worked at a company who pushes to production, that's usually 2 weeks in advance, and then they do their demos a week before they're out. They're not changing anything. And so alpha games, it's also a different story. So a lot of games say DayZ or some Arma mods that go into early access or alpha stage. I don't know whether the people developing those, their primary job is a programmer, or but games like that, the artwork is for the most part there. Same with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where visually it's all there. The visuals in that game's not going to change, period, aside from weather effects. But the mechanics of the game aren't there, and that's what goes from alpha to beta to finished product. So with my game, all the mechanics are done. And all the ones that aren't done for new characters and things like setting up teams and all that, that's very easy to implement. And the change between an alpha and a beta in those stages is 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Those are very quick, very simple things. So when you see this is quote pre-alpha, and then there will be an alpha with online play later for this. So when you see that, I don't want you to get this stigma of it's going to be 6 months before he releases the beta, or it's going to be 6 months or a year before there's even a beta, or it's never going to come out of early access. That's not what I do, because I'm a programmer, and all I'm really waiting on to change these stages is artwork, and for that I need money, and that's where support will come in. But those things actually come pretty quickly with money. It's all the really technical stuff, like the engine issues, the networking, that stuff's all hammered out. And there really isn't much else to do there other than slight improvements. So when I say these things, like this is a pre-alpha and then there'll be an alpha, I want your mental timeline to be more of, this is 6 months in these gaps. Or it's a short amount of time. It's not this is going to be a year and a half before the game actually gets released. Because again, it's not AAA, but I do want a high quality product. But still, since I've been engrossed in this for 2 years as the programmer, I know the ins and outs of everything. And there's not much on the programming end that really needs to change. As far as core gameplay is concerned, nothing has to change. It's really just character-specific mechanics and implementing new stages. That stuff actually goes pretty quickly. It's an hour to implement a new stage after the artwork is done. And so, yeah. So, that's just to give you a general idea of when you play this and you think, oh, I like this. I'll keep an eye out for it. And then you'll put it in the back of your mind because you think, oh, it's going to be a while before this guy releases anything else for this. No, this will be actually fairly soon. So the general plan is after the demo's released, you'll play it. It'll be available for about a week and a half, and then I'm going to turn it off through a web server. Even though there's no online, it is connected to the internet, and you do need the internet to run the demo at the moment, because it's really just for evaluation purpose, get people interested, and then I'm going to start crowdfunding again in about a month or so. And so that'll that'll be where I get the main funds to, get better models, better animations. I currently have an animator working. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time to get the animations for, it would only be for a single character, but into this build. And then, so I'd like to release an updated demo whenever that gets done, so look for that in about a week or so. And then hopefully next weekend you'll get to play, and you'll get to see the impact that hiring and having a professional animator on board versus me, who animated literally everything, can do a lot for the feel of a character. How all the hits feel, the snappiness of, not just, it'll go, you know. So I'm sure, most of you play games, you know what feels good, you know what doesn't feel good, and a lot of this stuff, it's very small stuff as far as like on my end to change, but it adds up. And so that's, the plan as far as gonna do some crowdfunding, then all that money is just going towards hiring another animator or more animators just to, speed up the process. Get models redone, redesigned, because I designed all the characters, so they're cool to me, but if it's not cool to you, I understand. Everyone has their own taste, and I do want to have a character out there for you, one that you like all the elements of, and add some depth to the characters, voice lines, that stuff all come with time, all the small things that really help a character come alive. These aren't things I forgot about. These are things that I just can't do because I don't have the resources for it at the moment. So after you play the demo and you're like, okay, this is fun, or it's not fun, you don't like the characters or something, I sincerely want you to keep in mind that a lot of that stuff is actually very simple to change. So, say you don't like Andor's, style. His general concept's gonna stay the same of, he's this overly aggressive, fire, like, his moves should, like, flail out, on the recoveries, but his actual, like, design of just a guy in armor, that's very simple to change. It really just takes more people, and that's what I don't have at the moment, and that's what I look to get in the future. So, if, the characters don't stand out to you, that's stuff that can change, like, fairly easily. It's not like I'll check back in on this in 8 months or whatever. That stuff will come very quickly once, with enough support. So, yeah, in closing, I just want to thank you for, following the progress, checking the game out, and enjoying it if you did. If you don't like it, to each their own. I'm doing my best to try to have this game feel the best towards the competitive aspect of Super Smash Bros. Melee, or the competitive community. So I know there's going to be a lot of balance concerns, and I'm sure if you come back and watch this video or you recall this video after playing, a lot of characters are going to be broken, and a lot of characters are going to have broken moves, and that's to be expected. And I do obviously appreciate all feedback on balance changes, but there is also some meta game that has to be developed first before I go in and say, okay, Quake is, too broken. So yeah, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for playing, and I really hope you enjoy, and because I really want to keep the game growing. So a character like Quake is someone who I think is a perfect example of, like, what I can do with new characters, where he has so many mechanics to him, that it's just, it'll take you so long to learn the character, and I have more of them, a lot of them that weren't ready to get shown in the demo, that they just have these really cool aspects to how the character works, mechanically, maybe not visually, but mechanically, that I just want you to be enthralled by it and, keep playing it. Like, oh, what if I drop off this platform, drop a rock, down tilt to knock the rock up, and then forward air it immediately, and, use that to edge guard. Like, that's something you could do with Quake, and I like that about characters. If there's one thing I believe I can do as an avid gamer, as someone who plays an enormous amount of games myself, is, I may not be able to design characters or visually make characters interesting, but I know mechanics, or I can understand what makes fun game mechanics, or what makes a character fun. because I played these games and I know, what's fun, at least for me, and I know what's fun for other people. So yeah, if you believe in the message and you believe in the game, I encourage you to support me. If not, or also if you want to support, but you can only put in a small amount, even $5 or something, I'd encourage you to save that for when I actually do the crowdfunding, because that'll, definitely get me towards the goal for that. I don't want to announce the amount yet, because that's still, in the works. But, and this video is getting a bit long at this point, so thank you very much for watching to this point if you did, and I really hope you enjoy the demo.